What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. And today we have a green day over here in the cryptocurrency market. So we'll take a peek over here at several charts. We'll look at the Bitcoin price chart. We'll look at several different altcoins. We'll take a peek over there at the dominance charts. We'll compare this move that we're having happening right now in the cryptocurrency market to things that we've seen before to get a general idea of, well, is the bottom in? Are we in for some type of reversal to start now? Or is this just a little bit of a trick and we're still going to continue going flat and sideways and then take another step down? So I'll do my best to go through all these things with you today. And hopefully we can get a better picture of what's actually happening, because it is exciting to see that the price has hit $44,000 over here for Bitcoin after hitting 39,558 just 2 days ago. But we also know it's hard to get super excited over a little green candle that shows up when we know that these things can turn over on themselves pretty quick. So is there any significance to this actual bounce in relation to ones that we've seen before? A lot of times when I'm trying to figure things out, I like to look at the rest of the market. So I'll deep dive into lots of different coins. And the things that we've been talking about a lot have been, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wave structures on a lot of these different altcoins. We've been talking about XRP, which has now popped itself higher than these levels that we were at the other day. But one that I've talked about frequently has been Cardano over here. So seeing that Cardano has bounced, and whether you own Cardano, whether you don't own Cardano, I do own some Cardano. But the point of this isn't to be like, hey, let's go buy Cardano and let's be euphoric about Cardano. It's merely that we've followed this structure. So if you've been watching the channel at all, I talk about different wave structures and what I look for in crashing structures. And that, last week I was thinking to myself, hey, it's odd that Cardano hasn't still set this new low. We've seen it throughout the rest of the market, but we haven't seen it over here in Cardano. Then eventually it did show up. That's the thing that we were looking for. I've gone through this many times on 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rolling back up to wave 4 within wave 5. Then it goes on and sets its new low. As we could see what happened here with Cardano, it was able to take out the low. It pulled back up, gave one final exhaustive push there, and then boom, now we're back up above here. So if you've never seen me talk about this before, you're kind of like, whatever, man. But I'm not going to dive super deep into it today. But in this structure, once something like this happens, that marks the bottom. Once the price has now pulled back up here, that does signify that that whole move is over. And this is typically how they play out. And I've spent this last week talking about that. Typically, we'll roll back up in here. There'll be this long retracement that will come in, and then the price will fire back up. But that moment right there would signify and mark the bottom in these specific types of corrective structures. So, we look over here at Bitcoin, we look at this and we say, this doesn't really look any different than any of these other moves that we've had down in here. And specifically right now, the size of the bounce that's happening is nothing to run home and tell mom about. But the optimistic thing that we do see happening in the altcoin market is that Cardano has finished its crashing structure, and that for XRP, looking for a Wyckoff accumulation, that we've had the move that we've been looking for, and then now XRP has bounced back up. So it's still very early, obviously, but from a structural setup on everything, these are all looking optimistic. And not to mention that the measured move for 39,557 gives us what a normal initial fall looks like for Bitcoin before it goes into a retracement wave, which, as we know, is how far we got to, 39,558. So early indications look good. And so when looking at the structure right here for Cardano, this actually can provide a lot of conflict within people's minds right in here, because what do we see happening here in Cardano? If this is true, if this whole structure is playing out, it indicates that Cardano is going to break up to the upside, right? It's going to have a move upward. Whether or not the move can sustain itself and go significantly higher than where it's at, or at least retrace back to about $2 or so, the structure indicates a move to the upside. And while we've been looking at the inverse price chart of Bitcoin so much, that's also what the Bitcoin price chart indicates, right? If it plays out like this, then it has a move back down in here, and then it moves all the way up. But since we're looking at the price of Bitcoin upside down, what does that indicate? That indicates that an upward move on the inverse price chart is actually a fall in the price of Bitcoin. And if we put ourselves off of the inverse scale, it looks something like that, right? Now, the thing that we know from 2017 as we went into retracement, that's when the altcoin market really took off. So that's the way I'm playing my cards in this market right now. But I think this will be a good exercise for a lot of people to say, all right, blockchain backer's always talking about this crazy thing that he's got going on over here with the inverse price chart with crashing structures. Well, this is a great opportunity to follow along with Cardano and see what does Cardano do. Does Cardano play out exactly like what crashing structures look like? And you can kind of follow this thing along as it goes to see what I'm talking about and see if it plays out the exact way these things typically play out. Because I know there's a lot of confusion out there on people's opinions on Bitcoin, and that's great. My job is not to come here and convince you this is what's going to happen. It's merely I'm just showing you the data of what goes on and how these charts typically operate. Nothing is 100%, but there's likelihoods of way things play out. And sometimes it's hard to quantify and quantitatively measure the percentage of probability on specific things playing out. We all base it on our personal experiences and how often we've seen something play out and build a bias towards that. But you can watch this happen live, right? Does it play out exactly like that for Cardano? You can, add this to your list, monitor it, follow it. I'm sure I'll show it again on this YouTube channel. But if something like this were to play out over here for Cardano, I think a lot of people would start kind of questioning maybe this stuff has actually some validity to it over here on Bitcoin from the inverse perspective. So earlier this year, I actually even did a couple of these live while they were happening, like with Dogecoin and Ethereum Classic when they were occurring, but not everybody was here then. So if you want to follow it along yourself, we can watch what happens with Cardano and see if it does exactly that. And the nice thing about Cardano is it's on a much smaller time frame, right? So one would think this will completely play out well before the inverse price chart of Bitcoin ever would. But there you go. You could watch that crashing structure very close over there on Cardano to see what does happen. And to be clear, I'm not sitting here predicting that Cardano is going to go to $2 and then it's going to crash on itself and it's game over. Cardano could go much higher. We're not in the altcoin season phase of this market into a retracement yet, or at least we haven't been given all the signals that one should have happened by now. I look at Cardano and there are charts that it reminds me of where it still goes on to set new all-time highs. But typically in this formations, at a minimum, you'd see something like $2. Whether or not it's actually going to end up going to like 10 is something that'll have to be reviewed later down the road when things are really kicking off for the altcoin season and once dominance charts can start breaking down. So speaking of dominance charts, it's been a week or two since we've gone ahead and looked at those. Yesterday, I posted over here on Twitter, after getting to 22% dominance, Ethereum has since been pushed back from the level that was the top of its 2018 USD value. We had discussed this back on December 8th over here on Twitter, and obviously if you watch this channel, we've talked about it many times, but saying that if there's such thing as a dominance resistance, then Ethereum is mere ticks away from the dominance it was at when the bull market ended for Ethereum in 2018. And that it was getting very close to where that top was. And so we followed up on it yesterday. Posted this chart over here showing this was the top of Ethereum in 2018. So this was kind of the first alt season of Ethereum. And then as the actual top came in there in January, this was the peak level for Ethereum's dominance. And we discussed that, hey, look, Ethereum's dominance has gotten right back up to here. We've been monitoring the Bitcoin plus Ethereum dominance. What's going to happen? Can both of them get rejected at the same time? Can Ethereum get rejected from its 2018 USD value top? And can Bitcoin break down at the exact same time, leading to a moment in this market where the show-stopping event is no longer Bitcoin or Ethereum because their market caps are so huge, but it's the rest of the market. As we can see, Ethereum has now been pushed back from that level from 2018, and we do see bearish divergences showing up in here. Again, we're looking at indicators on a dominance chart, a percentage of a market chart. So we're looking at the market cap, whether or not these things even have any relevance in here. Well, time will eventually tell whether there was actually signal there or not, but we can see the weakness showing up in here as the price was climbing and approaching that 2018 top and has since been pushed back. Then of course we do have the Bitcoin dominance still sitting at the lows, still working out this area right here without a clear breakdown in the dominance happening just yet. So while Ethereum has been pushed back, we haven't seen Bitcoin come in and do some big type of reclaim of dominance to happen in there yet. And looking at the actual chart of the Bitcoin dominance plus the Ethereum dominance, we can see we're still working out this zone zone. And this was kind of the breakdown level that happened back there in 2017 and 2018, and that it paused here as well. And we just haven't gotten that crack through yet. But if we're right on the brink of that moment actually happening, well, in 2017 and 2018, that was the second opportunity for the altcoins to rise and shine. And so that's where my big, broad perspective of this market lies. And that's the big picture that I'm trying to paint for myself here on this YouTube channel of where I think the market is, how I'm playing my cards, whether they're right or wrong, it's how I'm playing them, is that I look over here at this dominance chart and say, when we broke down like this, when we did something exactly like this during the last bull run, when the top of the Bitcoin bull run was in, and when Bitcoin went into a retracement, we saw this dominance really break down and we saw the altcoin market really take off. That moment in time would have been right here into this retracement that happened for Bitcoin in 2017 and 2018. And I look to current times right now and I say, hey, look, the market cap has reached out and hit a 4.236 extension. It's got this big 42% knockback. This was a 43% knockback that happened for Bitcoin right in here. It was into that retracement where this thing just fell apart. We haven't done any type of retracement yet for Bitcoin. All the conditions are lining up in there, similar to what we've seen before, is that a big, large fall and rejection eventually happens into the retracement, the dominance breaks. So we haven't had a big bounce into the retracement right now, right? So I think the thing that would be ultimately concerning would be if, say, Bitcoin had done something like this and we're back up in here at this point and this dominance hasn't broken down yet. That would be something that would be different. But the thing that's not different is that it's all setting up absolutely perfectly. It's setting up just like that. It's setting up prepared for a big, massive breakdown over here in the Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance, just like it did last time, as we're getting prepared to head into some type of retrace format, whether that's going to be an ABC like that, or if it does what these structures typically do in crashing structures, where you have a rise back up near the top and then this grueling long retracement that comes in like here before it eventually breaks back down like this, or whether it'll look more like that, time will tell as it goes back into some kind of a retracement in here. But conditionally, from what we've seen happen before in previous tops, it's all lining up just right. And in the end, the big question arises still, was that it? Was that the bottom? Was 39,558 it? And are we starting to head into the retracement right now? So I try to present all the different things that I'm looking for. My grand, broader picture is all of the same stuff. It's all about going into some type of retracement. The challenge, of course, is getting confirmations that that moment is starting right now. I think if we saw the Bitcoin dominance start to really break down and the Ethereum dominance break down as well, and we crack through that level that we've got set right in here, I think that's a very good indication that that would be it, but we're still waiting for that moment to happen. And we've seen moments like this happen before in here, just like we did back in 2018, where it still had one more dip. So the signal is still not completely clear there on the Bitcoin price chart or with the Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance that the moment has begun at this exact second. But I think an optimistic thing to say, either it's already here or it's very close, is looking at these altcoins to see these structures that they've done. And earlier this week, Ape Season over here on Twitter had posted an inverse price chart there of the XRP price chart showing the crashing structure occurring on a multi-year time frame, and that the bear market of XRP was the rollback up of wave 6 to wave 4 within wave 5. And I was so proud to see that because I just started, hey, I got my mind spinning. I appreciated saying that because I talk about that stuff all the time. And sometimes looking at things from a different perspective can really kind of open your eyes. And I've spent a lot of time really looking at a lot of these different altcoins from that perspective. And maybe we'll save that for later this week. That when I look at the inverse charts of this and try to remove my biases, and we all have biases, when we see prices going down, they really kind of terrify us into thinking they're just going to keep going down. But when we look at things from a different angle, we start to see things completely differently. And so maybe later this week, we'll dive deeper into that, looking at a lot of these altcoin charts, because I'm very optimistic on the altcoin market to show that there is still an optimistic future left for these altcoins. That when we look at things from an inverse perspective, it paints a clearer picture that good times are on the horizon. So awesome find over there, Ape Season over there on Twitter. And I agree, I like it. And maybe on Friday, we can dive deeper into that. So like I mentioned last week, the next few weeks are going to be 3 days per week, trying to just do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm trying to spend this first part of the year restructuring things on how I do things so we can go into the remainder of the year really strong. And I would love for it to be to a point where I'm doing 2 videos per day. But the way I do things right now, it's just humanly impossible. And at the same time, I don't want to have completely repetitive content. So we'll save this for Friday. I'll be over here on Twitter. Also, over here on Twitter, a couple of days ago, I did mention that, hey, Twitter enrolled my account in super follows a few minutes ago. I'll post additional tweets for super followers, which will be nice to freely post without trolls. If you don't know, nearly every time I post something on Twitter, there is somebody there to be argumentative and attacking. So it'll be nice to have kind of a safe space to post stuff. There'll be no price predictions or promises of anything for super followers, just extra additional tweets and thoughts. So if you want to support me, you can super follow over there on Twitter. I believe you can only do that from an iOS device or an Android device. But otherwise, on that note, that's where we stand. The Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance are still sitting at those levels. Optimistic signs over there in the altcoin market with Cardano popping up and XRP popping up. Still early over there on Bitcoin. And hopefully over the course of the next couple of days, we can get more price action to play out and give us a better picture of what's going on. But on that note, I'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. So if you're looking for something to do, you can check out my website over here. This is bcbacker.com. This is a course that I put together where I deep dive into the previous Bitcoin bull runs and the previous altcoin market cycles, tying them all together to show how the cryptocurrency market has worked in the past in regards to Bitcoin tops and altcoin seasons and all that good stuff. Structured a lot like my YouTube channel. It's not PowerPoints, me talking, looking at charts like we typically do on the YouTube channel. I talk about my personal exit plans in here, and I teach you how to set up your own charts and your own indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro so you can do your own charting. I talk about mathematics and percentages and why those are so important to me. I did have recent exit plan updates in there, and the most recent market update in there is on December 31st. And you can check out all of this educational content over here on bcbacker.com. You can follow me or super follow me over here on Twitter at bcbacker. And I want to thank you so much for watching my channel. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.